You mentioned before that when you got furloughed, that job didn't exist anymore. That's why you was put on furlough. So, and then you went back to working in the design agency. Was it an agency or design company? What would you class it as?
So my old job was an advertising agency. Yeah, when I got put on furlough, the job still did exist. I was under every impression that in 3 weeks' time I would be back. So that was creative assistant before. That was the one that I did for 2 years, but wasn't 100% sure how to describe it. It was a bit of design, bit of admin, bit of art buying and photography. I don't know. Lots of stuff.
Jack of all trades.
Yeah.
Again.
A theme. And then every 3 weeks I would get another call saying your furlough's been extended, until it got to the October time. They were just like, actually the board have come to the conclusion that job doesn't exist anymore, which was a bit of a
What does this mean?
Yeah, because I was just on furlough under the impression I'll just come back to work at some point whenever they need me, because as well in that role I did the social media, and they kind of decided we're not doing a lot of social media at the moment, and one by one every job they need me to do due to the pandemic wasn't needed, so that's why I got put on furlough. But then when I came back, because they did like me, I was good at my job, so I came back then as an actual designer, and then that was more on client facing work, so I got to work with clients and pitch to clients and get that experience, which has been invaluable really. So then this year I kind of decided to myself that I do need a change. I've been in that place for 3 years, almost 3 years at this point. I just felt like I needed something a bit different. I needed something a bit more challenging, and I felt like I needed a change because I was working in a certain industry and I'd not had any experience outside of that, basically.
And it weren't like a very creative, I don't know how to word it. It weren't like, you weren't able to get creative with it. It was like it was design, but it was very structured and to a very specific niche.
Yeah, definitely. And as I said before, I just love ideas, and I think I decided in my career I wanted to go more down the art direction route rather than pure design, which when I was then decided I'm going to apply for jobs now and see what happens. And again, I don't apply for jobs apply for me.
But this time you did apply for them.
But this time,
remember you saying to me, I'm going to give them the opportunity to tell me no. She was like, I've never really given them an opportunity to tell me no. I've always said no myself. I'm like, oh no, they won't have me, so I'm not applying.
Yeah.
So, but now she's like, no, I wanted to switch.
Yeah, that's it. I completely just switched the narrative, because it was something I saw on TikTok that she was just like, you know what, let them say no. Don't say no to yourself. And then I just took that and I was like, you know what? Yeah, I'll apply for the creative director role. Yeah, I'll apply for senior designer. I'll apply for these. And it was that mindset that did it. Those jobs I actually applied for and sent my CV off on LinkedIn, none of them got back to me. Not one. And the difference was then I'd opened myself up to actually wanting these opportunities and not restricting myself, because then I started getting messages from recruiters about different opportunities, and at one point I had 3 different job interview processes going on at the same time, and it was a bit mad, because as well, working a full-time job, working Fabstract, and now doing job applications and interviews, which when you work in the design industry you often have to have a brief and then create your response and then present back to them. It's an involved process, because they need to know that they're choosing the right person, and as well you need to know that you're the right fit for them. And I think what made the difference with the company I ended up going for is when they made me an offer, they weren't the only ones. That wasn't my sole job at that point. I had 3 different opportunities going on.
Wow.
And the way that they responded was, right, let's meet in person and let's go through your options and see if we're right for you. They didn't.
That's really good.
That was something that meant a lot to me and was quite different in that sense. They were just like, we're not going to we're not going to force you to work here.
Yeah.
It was like, no, I want to take time out of my day to actually see if this is the right opportunity for you, and give you all the information, and then you can make that decision as you will. By the time it actually came to that conversation, I'd already made the decision that it was right for me. But I still kind of waited until I met them in person to tell them that. Yeah, and I started there mid-November, I think. So I've been there a good couple of months now, and I really do love it. And
what is your job role there?
so I am a midweight conceptual designer, so it's like an art director designer hybrid, which again I can now do the ideas process.
That's so cool. So for anyone who isn't really aware of what art direction is, like what that role entails, do you want to sort of explain what it is you do day to day, and obviously with the design side as well?
So I was very unsure about this to start with as well. On a graphic design course, you're not taught about all these different creative roles. On that course, you're essentially everything. And then you come into the industry and you realise, oh, so that person writes the copy, that person does this, that person checks the artwork, and you realise you become more of a team than you ever were at uni. So I learned about art directors when I did the School of Thought course, and it's typical in an advertising agency really to have an art director and a copywriter team, and they will come up with like the original, like the initial concepts for what that end advertisement or campaign will be. So art direction as well, you have it in photography. It's basically the art director is how it looks and the copywriter is how it sounds.
Right.
So working together, you have this overall campaign.
It creates a whole.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it works even better when you have like an art director that like kind of has a bit of knowledge of words and you know what I mean, when there is that crossover. So art direction is bringing ideas to life. How will they look? How can you get this story across visually? Which like that also crosses over into design. It's not like you're either an art director or a designer. It's I don't see it as that. People might disagree with me, I don't know. I only know from my experience. But I know the main difference with like design and art director is an art director will come up with the concept and then go, right, here's the idea, now you go and make it.
Right. Yeah. So they sort of like put your idea into
life,
like,
really.
Yeah, they bring it to life,
Which does require like conceptual thinking. It's not, you can't be a designer without ideas, I don't think. Like you need to be able to see stuff visually and how it's going to work. But I think I like the whole process of like going from start, okay, here's the problem, how could we solve it? And then because I'm a bit of a hybrid art director designer, you can kind of take it all the way through.
So you sort of see it from start to finish sort of thing.
And also I think I'm not the best designer in the world. I don't want to be, and I think I'm very of the opinion there is someone who can make this look better than I can. There is someone who can definitely bring this idea to life better than I could do it. I don't want to then gatekeep this idea that could be amazing because I want to see it through. And I think, I don't know if I've gone off like what is it? Hypocrite. That's what I'm trying to say. Or like
everybody's a hypocrite.
Going against what I've just said, but
no, I don't think so.
I don't know, but I think I learned in my old agency that I really do like the ideas process, and that part of the job is really important to me, and that's what makes it feel less like work.
It sounds like an art director role is perfect for you. I feel like as we've learned throughout this conversation, you're very good at the concept stuff and like coming up with those ideas and I think that's
what
amazing.
I love doing. And I've been told, like when I used to do like graduate portfolio reviews and stuff like that, I was always told like, oh no, I think you need to be an art director. And little snippets of that have happened quite a lot, like even in my job interviews when I was going through that process last year. I was going for designer positions because I was a designer, but even then they were saying, no, we think like, I think you're like
art director.
an art director, like I think you're a trapped art director or something like that.
So how does it feel now that you're in that role? Does it feel like this was what I was meant to be doing the whole time?
I think so. I think there's like,
Are
I'm
you
very
closer to that goal now with this?
Yeah, it's definitely in process now.
Yeah.
Like, I've only been there 2 months, so
Yeah.
they're not going to go, all right, here's the newbie, chuck her on the big things.
Yeah.
Like, that's not how
Yeah.
it works. And they have senior people in place that have been there for years that are incredible at it, that I'm just glad now that...
To be learning off.
Yeah, I'm around a lot of experienced people now that I can just absorb information from and take their learnings. And I think there's been kind of progress meetings and conversations, and I feel like I'm comfortable to express with them where I want to go.
Yeah.
And they're very on board with it. I'm just like, yeah, that's going to be great. And it's nice to feel like I saw myself last year that this isn't what I want to do long term, and I was like, right, rather than sitting down being sad about it, do something about it.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that I'm now in the space that I've done something about it and, you know, reaping the rewards, I guess.
Yeah. So that anyone who's listening right now, if you're feeling stuck or you want to do something different with your life,
Yeah.
go out and just do it. And reap the
Just do
rewards.
it.
Yeah, just do it.
Just do it.
Yeah.
And what I learned as well last year is that it's very much a candidate's market at the minute. As I was in the situation, it was me with 3 different job opportunities.
Yeah.
It's not more so the job has 3 different people. It's more your choice.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
if you are, like, there are the jobs out there, and also from my experience, don't just take the job that's like labelled design. Like, the job I had first to get into the industry was creative assistant. It wasn't a pure design role. It had design elements, but I wouldn't be in the job I'm in now if I hadn't have started there. So also the kind of advice there is don't turn away an opportunity because it's not a junior designer role and you don't have that title, because you can also, like, once you're in, you're in. Unless I want to get out and do freelance, I feel like I could be in the industry for as long as I want to be.
Do you know what? I've really loved talking about all this with you. I feel like I've learnt so much.
I know.
Because I said to Roxanne at the beginning, like before you got here, I was like, oh, when we had that conversation at your birthday, I feel like I know everything, like, because we like really talked in depth, and I found it all so interesting. I was like, I'm gonna have to, like, you know, pretend that I've heard it for the first time, but pretty much everything I've heard is the first time. I've learned so much. Yeah.
It's weird hearing you say that, because obviously, like, this is my life. I've just lived it, and I'll listen to stories from other people. I'm like, wow, how have you done that much by then? And
that's what we're like with you now.
Yeah.
But then when it's yourself, you're like, oh, it's just my life. It's like, it's normal. But like for us,
but everyone's
I find it
normal's
really
different, isn't it?
interesting.
Yeah.
So, one thing I wanted to ask you was, do you have any advice for anybody wanting to get into the industry or working for like a corporate business? Because there's a lot of information out there for how to go on freelance and stuff, but it seems to be kind of, well, from what I've found, every kind of tip and trick to get into the industry is always behind like a paywall.
Right.
There's nothing really accessible.
Yeah.
Obviously, what you're fresh in it, especially with this new job. So do you have any advice for anybody listening who does want to get into the corporate world?
So my advice is build your portfolio, for one. If you don't have real projects, make them up. Also, people really do love seeing the ideas process and the scamps, and when you present your work to people, explain how you got there. Don't just show your portfolio and be like, this is the end result. What they want to see is, oh, okay, this was the problem and this is how you approached it. And when you can even say, like, you tried stuff and they didn't work and this is how you got to it, because they're not hiring you on that finished product. They're hiring you for how you think, how you approach problems, how you design. So if you can go through that interview process and when you present work, explain how you got there, that will make a lot of difference. And as well, you can do it for projects that you made up, because you will need a strategy behind it. Like, if your logo is a circle with a wave, why?
Yeah.
Like, you always need a why as well as a designer, and I think anyone that is a designer will know that you need a why, or else what's the point in it, like, you know.
Yeah, it's not just random.
Yeah, exactly. Like you've designed it that way for a reason, and you need to be able to show it. In terms of getting into the industry, as I said before, don't just turn away opportunities that aren't junior designer or whatever the job title is. Don't just go off that, because you can make jobs your own once you're in there. You kind of, like, as you said, once you're in, you're in. What else would I advise? So another thing I would say is definitely network like a mother trucker, because through Instagram, through going to events, through portfolio reviews, anything that you can see, go to it, because there's a lot of events. Like in Manchester, I know there's quite a few events for students to just show people in industry their work. I went to them as a graduate, and I also have been to them as an industry professional now, which is quite weird when you're on the other side.
Yeah, it's cool. Yeah, it's cool
nice.
that you've done that.
Yeah, it is nice. It's quite weird because they think I'm the one that's going to hire them, which is not the case. I can always give my advice from my point of view, but also on that point of networking, now I've been in an agency, when jobs come up, quite a lot of times there is like a referral fee for that person. So if I recommend someone and then they get into the job and then they stay there for, like, they pass their probation, I'll then get like a kind of monetary reward.
Oh, that's great.
Because it's cheaper to go through people in your company than hire external recruiters, for example.
Yeah, so I know someone, and she is a recruiter. That's what her job. Her job is to get other people jobs.
Yeah.
My sister does that as well. Yeah,
and she charges a fair bit to different companies and stuff.
Yeah.
So it can be expensive.
It can be thousands.
So, yeah, and
Thousands
also,
and thousands.
you know, like if I'm recommending someone, I'm not going to recommend anyone, because I don't want to put my name to it if, you know, they're not any good.
Yeah.
You're only going to recommend good people. So if you keep networking and you start to know different people, you show them their work and they think you're really good, when opportunities like that start to come up where, oh, there's a junior graphic designer position, I know they're looking for a job and they've just graduated. I've just seen their portfolio last week in that review. Maybe if I refer them, I'll get something out of it. They'll get something out of it. Yeah, just talk to people, basically. You know, I know it's difficult in current circumstances, but things are happening. Things are picking back up. And, yeah, connections will do you more good than anything else, I think.
Yeah, they can never be a bad thing.
I'm trying to drink up all this knowledge now and put it into my head.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, like, we've had this conversation before about, on our trip to IKEA.
Oh, yeah.
We had a conversation about, I was saying that I think that I would like to do a stint in industry, like, just to try it out. Like, maybe we'll try and, like, obviously see what this year brings and stuff like that. And, like, if I am thinking, right, I want to try it now, I was asking you, I was like, I don't know how to do it, because I have a first class degree in contemporary art, but that isn't what I do anymore. We spoke about it on our first podcast episode, where, like, I feel a bit like an outsider now, like, looking in on these jobs that I would love to do, but I don't have the degrees to do it, because I'm a contemporary artist. That's what my degree is. Yeah, it did have illustration elements, but it wasn't even an illustration degree. Everything that I've learned has been self-taught, or things that I've kind of picked up along the way from different people like yourself. Like, we've spoken about different, like, Adobe software.
But really, everything
like
that I've learned, I've taught myself in that way. I've just got different words on a piece of paper.
Yeah. But for, if anybody is listening who's on the same boat as me, for someone like me, if I wanted to get into graphic design, would you advise me do a graphic design course? Would you advise me to do a master's in graphic design, because I already have a contemporary art degree? What would you advise for me?
Personally, I found my degree super helpful. I loved it. As I said, I threw myself into it and I got out everything I think I could have squeezed out of it. I am of the opinion that I don't think you need a degree to do graphic design. I think if you've got the right mindset and you're willing to learn, there's YouTube, there's Skillshare, there's a hell of a lot out there that you can learn to design. As long, you know, if you've got the eye for it, you've got the passion for it, you don't need a degree. So it's whether you want to do it, which you've got, so, you know, you're fine in that sense. And in terms of getting into the industry when you've kind of done something else, it's not as uncommon as you probably think it is.
Because I imagine people who are in the industry have kind of gone from uni, like they've done a graphic design course, they've done a marketing course, they've done something, and then they've kind of worked from the bottom up straight from there. But
remember that you've got experience because you're doing that freelance.
I know, but I can't remember who I had this conversation with. But I remember somebody telling me, somebody was like, yeah, in the industry, freelance doesn't count. Like, people don't class freelance work as work because it wasn't in industry.
I think that's silly. Then, I don't think that's true.
I can't remember who told me that, but ever since then I'm thinking, oh my God, so then does that mean that I will need to go back to uni, or would I need to go back to something to what? So what, obviously you coming from industry, from graphic design point of view, like what's your opinion on that?
In relation to that, I think if they're just solely focusing on how many years experience you've got in industry and that's it, then they're not the right company to work for, because it's not progressive. And you've got to understand that people have different backgrounds, people have different experiences. Transferable skills are massive, and I think it's about the person. Like, if you are capable of doing it, then you're going to be able to do it. It doesn't matter if you haven't done it before. And I think I've done that time and time again, and throughout uni it's like I went through that whole thing of, if I've not done it before, all the more reason to.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we need. I hope when I'm in the position to employ people, I will go at it from a point of view that's just like, you know what, they really want to do it. They want to learn. They want to try. They haven't done it before. It doesn't mean they can't do it. And if you're going to work for places that only care about how many years you've done pure graphic design, then to me, I don't think...
That's a red flag to you.
To me, it is, yeah. I think, as I said, like, everyone's different, but I think the more progressive companies that are going to last the test of time are the ones that can look at an individual person and go, you know what, they can change, and they can change with the company. They're not stuck in their ways. They will want to evolve just like we want this company to evolve. So again, I think going back to that whole point of don't say no, what's stopping you from applying for a position as a graphic designer? If someone says, oh no, you've not got enough experience, okay, I don't want to work for you. You've got to put yourself out there and decide if you want to do it, you can do it, because you know that you can design.
Yeah, she definitely can.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
Let
you
me
know
tell
you've got the experience.
Do that
Number one
every time.
cheerleader of for you.
Let me tell you. If you've got the portfolio, as I said before, if you haven't got the enough stuff in there, or if there's certain stuff that you want to do, make it up. If you really want to design for a jewellery brand, you don't need to wait for a jewellery brand to approach you to do it. You've just got to decide your priority is getting a jewellery brand in your portfolio, and you are going to have to dedicate time to it. You might then not be able to watch Netflix for a couple of hours. That's the trade-off. But if that's what's important to you, then you need to dedicate time to it. And then when you go and have interviews, which if this is what you want to do, you will get the interviews, you will get to show your process, and then they'll get to understand you and see if you're the right fit for them, if they're the right fit for you and you're the right fit for them. Yeah. It's a two-way street as well. I feel like that's important to know.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. You shouldn't just take like any job because it might not be right for you.
No, because as well, it's not worth it.
Yeah.
Because if it's not right for you, then, you know, it's going to be bad for the both. Well, it won't work out for the both of you, because in 3 months' time, you're going to want something else, and then they're going to have to rehire. So it might sound like at the time, oh, well, a job's better than no job. And I am kind of contradicting myself a little bit, because I said don't just go for the ones that are purely your title. But
yeah, but you don't want to go for, if you get like a bad vibe, or you're not really sure about the person that interviewed you, and maybe they were, I don't know, maybe they were a bit sexist. You know what I mean? Like,
red flag.
Yeah. If there's any red flags.
Don't ignore the red flags.
Yeah, don't ignore the red flags,
I would say that it's more, if you get a good vibe from them, you'll know in the interview what the people are like that are interviewing you. Mm-hmm. And a question that I always ask at the end of any interview I've done is to them, do you enjoy your job? because it's a question that, you know, they get to the end of the interview and they're just like, oh, do you have any questions for us? And usually it's a bit of an awkward thing unless you've prepared a question in advance. People are just like, oh no, it's all
I
right,
feel like you
it's
should
fine.
always ask a question, because that makes you seem like you're really interested in the job. And
absolutely.
And what's their response to that question usually?
Well, this is the thing. This is what catches them off guard, because in an interview situation, you don't expect them to ask you if you enjoy your job, so they can't lie. And if they do lie, you can tell.
Yeah.
And I think what's been...
you've caught them off guard.
Exactly. Yeah. And what's been nice about the jobs that I've had is the response to that question has always been like, yeah, I really do. And, you know, I'm not going to lie, there's been challenging times, there's been late nights, and I'm not going to gloss over that. But
sets
overall...
a precedent for what to expect, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly. And I've decided that, you know, you work a lot of your life, like a lot of, I mean, especially for me, you work a lot of time, so you need to enjoy it. And
yeah, because it's your life at the end of the day.
Yeah, so there's another tip. Always ask at the end of your interview, ask them, do you enjoy your job?
I love that. It's a very good tip. I would never have thought of that.
I wouldn't have either.
No.
Where did you come up with that? Did you just decide? Well, you come up with a lot of good ideas, so it doesn't surprise me.
It links back to values, doesn't it, and what you stand by. And it's just like, I've always said I want to enjoy my job, because I spend way too much of my time working, and it's not worth it. So
yeah, it's not.
Yeah.
It's the worst thing ever, not enjoying your job. The worst. I always feel like it's the people as well that make a job. Like, I feel like you could have the worst job ever, but if the people around you are really amazing, it really makes it.
Yeah, that's why I stuck at the Lowry Theatre, because the people that I worked with were great. Like, did I actually want to spend most of my time polishing cutlery? Not really.